everyone, and welcome back to our Crisis Center of West Texas Chats. So for this chat, we are working on empowering women, and we have Miss Fuentes. So Miss Fuentes, would you like to kind of say your name, what you do, your title?
Yes, ma'am. I am Naomi Fuentes. I am the AVID coordinator at Odessa High School. I've been there for, wow, 14 years, and I love my job.
That's awesome. Thank you for being here with us today. So what led you to do the work that you do now?
Actually, it's kind of weird. When I was in school, I was not a good student, I guess you could say. I actually struggled, especially in English classes. So I thought, wow, I had these couple of teachers that actually helped me, and I thought I want to do that for people who are struggling. So that's why I got into teaching English first, and then got into AVID, and I love it.
Awesome. Well, you're a great teacher.
Oh, thank you.
um, So, if you could, what is one thing you would tell your 12-year-old self?
Wow, there's a lot of things I would tell my 12-year-old self, but if I had to pick one, it would be that being different is beautiful, and people's opinions of me should not have mattered as much as they did. So, to all the young ladies out there, being beautiful and unique is awesome. It's uh, when people say you're different or you're weird, that should be a compliment, not something bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So have you ever had anyone in your life tell you that you couldn't be successful or put you down? If so, how did you react?
Um, yeah, actually, a lot of people. When I was younger, probably all the way to early 20s, there were a lot of people, and sometimes it would be kind of a passive aggressive way, not necessarily, oh, you're dumb or you can't do this, but by their actions or things like that. And how I used to react was I would believe them. And so I wouldn't try, or I wouldn't know that I was worth something or that I deserved what I was trying to do
Mm-hmm.
or go after. But now, that I'm older and I've kind of, you know, um, I kind of went through that phase where I realized my self worth and that, hey, I deserve love and I deserve to be happy. So I don't care what you think. And yes, but people do say that and people do it in different ways. And you just got to overcome it and kind of get to that point in your life.
Yeah, and it seems like that stuff really matters, when you're younger. And
Mhm.
as you grow up, it's like, well, it doesn't really matter anymore. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And you believe it, when you're younger, it hits. And even you can tell yourself, oh, I don't believe you. I can do it. But deep down you kind of do until,
Yeah,
like you said, until you get older, then you're like, nah, I'm gonna do what I want because I deserve it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And you start to realize that as you get older, and you're like, well, didn't really matter back then. It was a big deal back then, but now it's like, it's whatever. So yeah. Um, what advice would you give young girls that struggle with self-esteem?
um, I would say, and that I thought about that question. It was kind of like tough for me to answer this question. It is tough for me to answer it because I struggled with it, and it's like, that's a big one for young girls. Self-esteem is a huge issue for young girls, and my advice would be, you have to respect yourself. You have to start doing things that um, allow you to love yourself and it's all about, I wish I knew how to say this. I'm not really explaining myself well, so this might be one of the things you edit out, but it's kind of like I want young girls to know that they are worth something, that they're valuable. And I remember all my friends when I was young didn't value themselves, and they did stupid things because they didn't understand that they needed to love themselves and respect themselves. And so I don't really know how to put that into words. Like, I just wish they would do something and knew how valuable they were. I don't know. Am I making sense?
No, yeah, I agree. Because I feel like going back to what we just said, at a young age, you feel that or you may think that the way like you do your hair, the way you dress, the way you talk, the way you do things matter when they really don't matter,
Yeah.
right? You're like, oh my god, I like made a big deal about the way my hair looked when nobody else even noticed the way my hair looked,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
So yeah, it's the little things that when you grow up, you think, oh my god, I don't know why I was, so worried about that, or why I don't know why I was so worried about this. But yeah, I do get what you're trying to say, and yeah, it's true. Like things really really matter a lot when they don't, kind of.
Yeah, and I know in the moment, at that moment, the young girls think that's important, and it is to them at that moment.
Hmm.
That's what their mind's telling them. But I just, I wish that there was something they could do that would just change their thinking, their negative talk, and
Yeah,
that, you know what, you're beautiful no matter what. So,
yeah.
you're worth it. You're worthy and valuable. And yeah, I just wish they could see that now instead of
Hmm.
wait till they're older.
I know. Yeah. So our next question would be, as a female leader, what has been the most significant barrier in your career?
I'm actually since I teach my career field, I'm actually in a field where most teachers are women, so that's pretty awesome. Um, Now, the principals, when you rise up, and you become an administrator, and the principals, that's more male dominated. So there were some barriers for some of my, you know, female teacher friends getting positions in administration.
Hmm.
It was harder for them. But that was a few years ago when I first started teaching. Now I'm seeing a lot more strong, confident women, assistant principals, principals running schools, and they're kicking butt. So I think in my profession specifically, that barrier has kind of come down because there's lots of awesome administrators that are female and doing a great job. So I'm happy to see that.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. So who has inspired you most in your life, and why?
Um, I have one sister, and she's awesome. She's inspired me in two different ways. The good way, like I see her and I'm like, wow, I want to strive to be her. And then sometimes she does things and I'm like, I don't want to do that. So it's kind of like she teaches me both ways. Like, okay, I see her make mistakes. I'm like, I'm not gonna do that. So we laugh about that because I always looked up to her. I wanted to be around her and hang out with her all the time. And I was the bratty little sister. But she's awesome. And yeah, she was a big inspiration growing up, but I also learned from her mistakes not to do what she did. So,
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So lastly, do you engage in self-care? If so, what kind, and why is it so important to you?
yes, it is huge to me because that's how I kind of learned that we need to be lifelong learners and always grow and always change because we can always do better. It's like once you know better, you do better. The thing I do and I love is audiobooks. Those self-development audiobooks. My favorite author is Mel Robbins. Um, she has this one book that I've read like 3 times or listened to 3 times, the 5-second rule, and that just it motivates you. And then
Hmm.
there's also another one, Jen Sincero. Her audiobook is called You Are a Badass, which I highly recommend that one too. But I think you have to feed yourself, and by either reading an actual book or listening to an audiobook, you got to feed your mind, and you have to, develop yourself because we all can improve. I've started working out, so this little quarantine that staying inside that we've had to do, we turned our garage into like a little gym. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I'm doing that, trying to. So, but yeah, I think self care is huge. You have to take care of yourself because if you don't fill your own cup, there's nothing to pour out into someone else. And I want to be there for my students and give them my all. But if I'm not taking care of myself, I can't do that.
Yeah, right. Well, thank you so much, Ms. Fuentes, for being able to do this video with us and tell us a little bit more about what you do, um, and what got you to where you are now.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Until next time, guys. Bye.
Bye.